and welcome to Live Parkinson's, Live an Exceptional Life. I'm your host, Chris Custenbotter, and I've been living an exceptional life with Parkinson's for the past 14 years. The mission of this podcast is to help as many people as possible living with Parkinson's to lead a great quality of life. Today's topic is Conquering Sleep Challenges in Parkinson's, a guide to the top 5 issues and their solutions. Imagine struggling to fall asleep, tossing and turning all night, only to wake up feeling groggy and exhausted. Now, imagine experiencing this every night on top of the challenges that Parkinson's disease brings. It's a battle many people with Parkinson's face, but there's hope. In this podcast, we'll explore the top 5 sleep issues that affect people with Parkinson's and provide practical solutions to help you reclaim restful nights and improve your overall quality of life. Now, I know I've talked about my sleep issues since being diagnosed with Parkinson's. Insomnia is a big one. I don't have trouble falling asleep, but every morning around 3 a.m., Parkins taps me on the shoulder and says, "Time to get up. I'm lonely and need some company." So I dutifully follow along. Of course, getting up so early leads me to excessive daytime sleepiness. So midday, I find myself doing the head bob and not being able to concentrate. So it's off for a 20 to 30 minute power nap to hopefully recharge the batteries. Then there are those nights where I feel like I need to be constantly moving my legs and still find it difficult to fall asleep. Yep, restless legs. And finally, what would a night's sleep be without sleep apnea? So I don my headgear, connect my hose, and fire up the CPAP machine, which gives me a positive airway pressure so I don't stop breathing and snore all night, keeping my wife awake all night and me waking up feeling tired and exhausted. So that's my sleep journey with Parkinson's. In this podcast, I wanted to cover the top 5 sleep issues and their solutions based on what people are saying are their biggest issues and what most Parkinson's patients discuss with their or sleep specialist. In this episode, I'll be discussing the top 5 sleep issues and their symptoms, their impact on your quality of life, and then give you some specific strategies to help you manage these sleep challenges. You may be asking yourself, what are the top 5 sleep issues that we'll be discussing? Well, to break the suspense, here they are. We'll lead off with REM Sleep Behavior Disorder, and we're not talking about the band from the 80s and 90s. Then we'll transition to a segment on insomnia, followed by one of my personal favorites, number 3, excessive daytime sleepiness, and that'll lead us into number 4, which is Restless Legs Syndrome, and then we'll round it out with number 5, sleep apnea. Now, so far in my Parkinson's journey, I've had experiences with 4 out of 5 of these, and while lately I've been experiencing vivid dreams, I only had one episode where I acted out my dreams. So if someone you know is experiencing any of these top 5 sleep issues with Parkinson's, I hope you'll join me on this podcast so we can all learn some strategies for managing these sleep robbers and hopefully get better night's sleep and have a better quality of life. So without further ado, let's dive in and learn about our first sleep challenge, REM Sleep Behavior Disorder, or BD. So I'll talk about RBD a lot so I don't have to keep saying REM Sleep Behavior Disorder. Now that sounds pretty scary. What exactly is REM sleep disorder? Well, it's a neurological condition that causes people to act out their dreams while they're sleeping. Now, unlike most people who remain relatively still during REM sleep, individuals with RBD may thrash, punch, kick, or even get out of bed. Now, I remember experiencing an event like this when I was dreaming that I was being attacked when an intruder broke into the house, and I was kicking in my sleep to defend myself. I've also had a few dreams in the past several weeks where my wife said that I was yelling in my sleep, and she said it was very scary, so she would wake me up and make sure that everything was okay. All right, now that we know what RBD is, what are some of the symptoms people may experience? And the symptoms I'm going to talk about were referenced in an article called REM Sleep Behavior Disorder from the Mayo Clinic. First symptom is dream enactment. Now, this is the most common symptom where the person physically acts out their dreams. And again, this can include kicking, punching, thrashing, yelling, and getting out of bed. And usually it's in response to an action-filled or violent dream, such as you might think you're being chased by an intruder, or you're just defending yourself from an attack. So dream enactment is number one. Number two, listening to loud noises, such as talking, laughing, shouting, emotional outcries. So that could be like calling for help or crying, and even cursing. Those would all be types of loud noises that someone with RBD may experience. Being able to recall the dream if you're awakened during the episode. A lot of people say, well, geez, I can't remember what the dream was about. Well, people with RBD typically tend to be able to tell you what the dream was when they're awoken during the episode. And then vivid dreams. The movement and noises associated with RBD are often in response to vivid dreams. Are those dreams that everything seems so real that you don't know you're actually dreaming. All right, now according to the Cleveland Clinic article, REM Sleep Behavior Disorder, about 8 in 10 people with RBD experience sleep-related injuries, which is pretty significant. Essentially 80% of people with this disorder are going to injure themselves. Now, an episode may happen once during a sleep period, or it could occur several times. And the symptoms tend to be more severe if the person is acting out a violent nightmare. Now, according to the Cleveland Clinic article, there are two main types of RBD. There's isolated idiopathic, and there's symptomatic secondary. Isolated or idiopathic RBD happens when the condition develops spontaneously without any underlying cause. Now, most people with RBD will eventually develop a neurodegenerative condition, specifically Parkinson's, Lewy body dementia, or multisystem atrophy, or MSA. Now, these conditions are called alpha-synucleinopathies. Symptoms of RBD happens due to some of the underlying causes like narcolepsy. So that's the symptomatic type. Now, the article notes that RBD is strongly associated with certain neurodegenerative disorders. And they say about 97% of people who have isolated idiopathic RBD have Parkinson's disease, Lewy body dementia, or multiple system atrophy within 14 years of diagnosis. Okay, now that we know what RBD is and what its symptoms are, and that it can affect people with Parkinson's and Lewy body dementia, how is it diagnosed? Well, according to the Cleveland Clinic, if you have symptoms of REM sleep behavior disorder, it's important that you want to tell your healthcare provider. And then they're going to send you for a sleep study. To receive a diagnosis of REM sleep behavior disorder, you have to undergo a lab video sleep study, or a polysonogram. So they're going to video you while you sleep, and then they're also going to record specific body functions during your sleep, and that would include your heart rate, breathing rate and airflow, brainwave activity, eye movements, muscle movements of the chin and upper extremities. And once they have that data, they're going to compare it to the International Classification of Sleep Disorders. And to receive a diagnosis of RBD, you're required to meet all of the following criteria. The first is you have to have repeated episodes of sleep-related vocalization, so that's talking, yelling, making loud noises in your sleep, or complex movement behavior, so that would be your kicking, your punching, those type of things. The next is the behaviors are documented by a sleep study and occur during REM sleep, or can be assumed to happen during REM sleep based on your clinical history. The sleep study shows that you experience REM sleep without atonia or muscle paralysis. A lot of times with REM, most times with REM sleep, your body goes into paralysis, and that's why you usually remain calm during REM sleep. The sleep disturbances aren't better explained by any other type of sleep disorder. And finally, you don't have seizure-related activity during REM sleep. Now, hopefully this gives you a good understanding of what RBD is and its symptoms, and how it can affect a person's quality of life. Now, let's turn our attention to the positive side and provide some strategies and treatment options based on the available research and what the typical treatment plan typically is for this type of sleep disorder. All right, first is safety measures for RBD. Now, these include creating a safe sleeping environment and would include some of the following things. You want to remove sharp glass, heavy objects, or anything with sharp corners. You want to move that away from the bed so that the person, if they're flailing around, they don't either cut themselves or break a bone because they're hitting hard objects. You want to place pillows between you and the surrounding structure, such as headboards and nightstands, again, so that you're not flailing and breaking bones or cutting yourself while you're sleeping. And then placing a mattress or pillows on the floor next to the bed in case you fall out of bed. And the other thing you can use is there's also padded bed rails would also be beneficial for people with RBD. Now, some people, if the condition is severe enough, they have to sleep in a sleeping bag, and that helps prevent the kicking and flailing that is associated with the disorder. People with RBD are told to avoid alcohol because it can trigger an RBD episode and make the condition worse. Now, if your symptoms are severe, your bed partner may have to move to another room because otherwise they might get injured while you're flailing and punching and kicking, and you don't want that, and your bed partner doesn't want that, so a lot of times they'll move to a different room. And then according to the Cleveland Clinic, if your symptoms are severe enough and you've tried all the safety measures and they're not enough to prevent injury, then your healthcare provider may prescribe some medication to help try to manage your symptoms. Now, there really isn't any drug approved by the Food and Drug Administration currently for RBD. But some studies have shown that melatonin, clonazepam, and pramipexole can reduce symptoms. Now, melatonin, that's a hormone that is naturally produced in the pineal gland and is essential for regulating your sleep cycle. Synthetic melatonin, which you can go to either the grocery store or a pharmacy and purchase, is considered the first line of medication for treating RBD, as it rarely causes side effects. So your healthcare professional may titrate up, or they may start with a low dose and then have you titrate up to a maximum level based on whatever your specific treatment plan calls for. Clonazepam is a sedative, and researchers aren't sure why it helps treat RBD. And most people with RBD who take it at a low dose before they sleep have found they have fewer or no nightmares, vocalizations, or dream enactment behaviors. One of the problems is with and cause unpleasant side effects and may only be prescribed if melatonin doesn't work because it's typically, because of the side effects, they typically they're not as a first line therapy. And then pramipexole, it's a dopamine agonist, meaning that it doesn't break down into dopamine, but it mimics dopamine in the brain. It's prescribed to treat Parkinson's disease and Restless Legs Syndrome. Now, I've personally been taking one dopamine agonist for a number of years, and research has shown that it can help treat the symptoms of RBD. Researchers think it may work because RBD may have a dopaminergic deficiency component to it. So, if you or a loved one have symptoms of REM Sleep Behavior Disorder, it's important that you consult your healthcare provider so they can develop a treatment plan to ensure you're getting the help you need. All right, let's look at the next sleep issue as part of the top 5 sleep issues, and that's insomnia. Now, we've all heard people say insomnia, or you see it a lot in on TV and or you have friends and family say, I have insomnia. But what exactly is insomnia? Well, insomnia is a sleep disorder that's characterized by difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking too early. Now, I happen to personally fit into the last two categories. I have difficulty staying asleep, often waking up several times during the night. A lot of times it's to use the restroom, but then sometimes I have difficulty falling back to sleep, so I might be awake for 5 to 30 minutes, and then waking up too early and not being able to get back to sleep. Now, my family knows that I'm awake most mornings and out of bed between 2:30 and 3:30 a.m. Now, when I'm home, I usually just sneak upstairs and work on preparing for these podcasts and YouTube video series. Now, when I'm visiting friends or family, I take my book pack and I load it with my notebooks and my computer for doing research and preparing for the podcast. I also do research to help develop some of the articles and free resources on my liveparkinsons.com website. Now, my kids who are in their 30s tease me all the time and say, I'm traveling with my command center. So, and visiting my kids or family or friends, I'm ready to learn more and anything new in research. I'm ready to set up my command center in a minute's notice. And then I have people that know that I'm up early and maybe that live in a different time zone, and they'll text me or call me in the morning. Now, hopefully you get a little bit better sleep than I do, but it is what it is what I always say. And you just try to overcome, and you use some strategies to deal with the issue that you're facing. So what are some of the symptoms of insomnia that you may experience? Well, that's a good question, because certain people are going to have more symptoms than others. But some of the symptoms include difficulty falling asleep at night. And a lot of times people have difficulty falling asleep because their mind's racing and they're thinking about things, or maybe they're worried. Number two, another waking during the night and having trouble going back to sleep, which can cause what they call fragmented sleep. Waking too early in the morning, which I like to call O dark 30. And then daytime sleepiness or fatigue, and that's the result of not getting enough sleep the previous night. This one I'm sure that we've all are aware of, and that's irritability, anxiety, or depression. A lot of times if we're not getting enough sleep, we become very cranky and irritable. So that's one of the symptoms. Poor concentration and focus. I know when I'm tired, I have a lot of difficulty trying to read something or try to do something on the computer. I can't focus, and I have to put on and either go take a nap or go do something else. Tension headaches are another one. Difficulty socializing. I've had this happen to me a few times. My neighbor and I would be sitting outside talking, and all of a sudden he would start to go in and out of focus. And as hard as I tried, I was having trouble, and my eyelids would keep going shut. And he would say, "Oh, you look really tired." And I apologized. And he said, "No, I understand." And so then he'd say, "Why don't you go take a nap?" And then finally, worrying about sleep. That's a pretty extensive list of symptoms. Insomnia can be classified as both short-term, which lasts a few days to a few weeks, or it can be chronic, which can last longer than 3 months. According to the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, about 30% of adults have symptoms of insomnia. About 10% of adults have insomnia severe enough to cause daytime consequences like drowsiness and fatigue, and less than 10% of adults are likely to have chronic insomnia. So most people are going to experience the short-term type. Now, in an article by the National Council on Aging that was titled Sleep Statistics and Facts, they reference a recent study on the prevalence of sleep-related problems in older adults among adults ages 65 to 79. And they showed that 13% have frequent insomnia, 18% have frequent insomnia and poor sleep quality, and they also noted that insomnia rates were higher among women than men, 16% versus 11%, and 20%, which is 22% of women and 17% of men, and 45% of those with frequent insomnia overall reported regular sleep. Used only 10% of participants reported discussing sleep issues with their healthcare professional. So, how is insomnia related to Parkinson's disease? According to the article, How Parkinson's Affects Your Sleep, published on healthline.com, one of their headlines poses the question, why does Parkinson's cause sleep disorders? The author states that Parkinson's causes changes in the brain, and that affects the way some neurotransmitters act in the body. The article notes that when Parkinson's symptoms appear, symptoms such as rigidity and tremors can also contribute to difficulty sleeping. Now, some Parkinson's medications can disrupt sleep. Medications make you sleepy, can make you want to sleep too much during the day, and then at night your and daytime sleeping can lead to nighttime insomnia. So if you're taking a 2 or 3 hour nap during the day, then more than likely you're going to have trouble sleeping at night. According to the Parkinson's Foundation, up to 75% of people with Parkinson's disease experience sleep-related symptoms, including insomnia. According to the Cleveland Clinic, 2/3 of Parkinson's patients report having trouble sleeping, so roughly 66%. Managing insomnia in Parkinson's often involves a combination of medication adjustments, behavioral therapies, and lifestyle change. Now, I wanted to share a story with you to illustrate the impact that insomnia can have on a person's quality of life. And I want to talk about a person named John. I won't use last names. And John's a 62-year-old retired school teacher, and he's been living with Parkinson's for almost a decade. John used many of the challenges that come with Parkinson's, like tremor, stiffness, and balance, and he's gotten used to those and was able to deal with those. However, he wasn't prepared for the relentless battle that he was going to be fighting with insomnia. Now, he would lay in bed every night feeling exhausted but unable to drift off to sleep. He said his mind raced, his legs twitched, and the medication that used to help him weren't as effective as they were before. John said he would get frustrated that he couldn't fall asleep, and he began to dread going to bed. Instead of resting, John found himself tossing and turning. John said he would often lay in bed and begin thinking about his struggles for the day because of his motor symptoms. John would lay there in bed, focusing on his problems, which were making it more difficult to fall asleep because of his anxiety. John's insomnia was beginning to take a physical and emotional toll, and it was making it harder to control his motor symptoms. In fact, his daytime fatigue was causing him to fall more frequently, and it left him irritable, and he was grouchy and angry with his friends and family. It wasn't the same John that had the really positive attitude that people knew. However, John was a fighter, and he's just determined to regain control of his life and hopefully overcome insomnia. So John said he decided to visit his doctor and discuss his sleep problems with sleep. John said his doctor suggested trying relaxation techniques and develop a consistent sleep schedule. And adjusting his medications was another important piece. Now, while it was a slow process, John gradually started to fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. The relaxation techniques helped reduce his racing thoughts, and John used those relaxation techniques and began to notice and celebrate small victories. He became more engaged and his positivity returned, and it was both notable to his friends and family. I hope John's story gives you a good perspective on how insomnia can have a significant effect on both the person's emotional and physical well-being. Okay, now that we have a good understanding of what insomnia is and how it can have a detrimental effect on our quality of life, let's look at specific strategies you can use to help manage insomnia. Number 1, establish a consistent sleep routine. And what you want to do here is keep a regular sleep schedule. So you want to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. Yes, even on weekends. Yes, and even on vacation, because that's going to help you keep a regular sleep schedule and get your body accustomed to a regular sleep cycle. And then you want to develop a nice bedtime routine that involves calming activities, and that could include reading. Maybe you listen to soft music, soothing music. Some people meditate. Some people practice different kinds of relaxation techniques, deep breathing, and just staying in the present moment. All right, number 2, you want to optimize your sleep environment. So you want to make sure that you have comfortable bedding, and that would include your mattress and pillows. Make sure they're comfortable and supportive. You want to keep your bedroom dark, quiet, and cool, because that's going to help you sleep better. It's typically more difficult to sleep when you're hot than when you're cool. And you can get items like blackout curtains to block unwanted light. You can use earplugs to help block out the noise that you might hear at night that keeps you awake. And you can also use a white noise machine that also comes with most different calming effects as well that you can use to help you fall asleep. And you also want to limit screen time. So try to avoid using your phone, your tablet, your computer, or even TV at least an hour before bed, because the blue light emitted from these devices can interfere with your sleep cycle. So try instead to read a book or listen to music or for a walk, or maybe have a nice cup of tea, whatever it happens to be, but just try to limit your screen time. Now, for additional information on sleep hygiene tips, check out the Parkinson's Foundation article, Expert Tips on How to Get Good Sleep with Parkinson's, and I'll include a reference to that in the podcast description. And then number 3 is manage your Parkinson's symptoms. In their article, Sleep and Parkinson's Disease, the Michael J. Fox Foundation says to work with your doctor to adjust the timing of your Parkinson's meds to minimize nighttime symptoms. And then if you're a person that experiences pain, manage your pain by letting the doctor know of any pain or discomfort you may be feeling that disrupts your sleep. They may recommend medications, physical therapy, or other treatments to help you manage your pain. Next is behavioral strategies. Consider cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. And I've done this personally myself, and I can vouch that it was very helpful. I used it for a couple fears that I had and anxiety. So CBT therapy can be used to help you change your thoughts and behaviors around sleep and to help make it easier for you to fall and stay asleep. And again, I personally use that for dealing with negative thoughts with anxiety. So it really does help. So that's one of the things that I would highly recommend that you look into. And if you want to learn more, check out my podcast. I did one, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. And then you can also use relaxation techniques like deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation. That's where you tighten a muscle group and then you relax it, and then the body. So you might start in your feet and then go to your calf where you tighten, hold it, and then relax, and then do the same thing with your quads, and so on and so forth. And one other thing you can do then is some lifestyle adjustments. In their article, 10 Tips to Help You Sleep Well with Parkinson's, the Parkinson's Foundation recommends that you engage in, and dare I say it, exercise. They say regular exercise or physical activity can help with sleep, but they tell you to avoid vigorous exercise close to bed because that's probably going to help you awake. And diet. Avoid caffeine, alcohol, and large meals with in the evening, because it's harder to go to sleep when either you have a full stomach or alcohol and caffeine are going to keep you awake as well. So try a late snack before bed if you're hungry. Finally, 6, the Michael J. Fox Foundation recommends addressing sleep disorders, including sleep apnea. So if you suspect sleep apnea, where you're starting and stopping your breathing, consult a doctor. Treatments like a CPAP, which is continuous positive airway pressure, help improve your sleep quality, and Restless Legs Syndrome, which is a common condition in PD, disrupts your sleep. There's medication and lifestyle changes there too that you can use to help with that. And then finally, number 7, look at your daytime habits. So you want to limit your naps. You want to avoid taking long naps during the day to ensure that you're tired at bedtime. Now, when I take a nap, it's usually 20 to 30 minutes, and it's just enough to help me recharge my batteries. Expose yourself to sunlight. Spend time outdoors in the natural sunlight during the day because, yes, the sun isn't out at night. And that's going to help you regulate your sleep-wake cycle. Now, I hope I've given you some actionable strategies you can use to help you manage your challenges with insomnia. Now, let's look at our next sleep threat, excessive daytime sleepiness. And this is one that I definitely deal with on a regular basis. So what is excessive daytime sleepiness, and what are its symptoms? Well, excessive daytime sleepiness is a condition where you have an overwhelming urge to sleep during the day, even after getting adequate sleep at night. Really more than just feeling tired. It can have a significant impact on your daily activities and increase your risk for accidents, either in a car or at home, and can lead to health issues. So how do you know if you have excessive daytime sleepiness? What symptoms do you have to have? Well, symptoms are going to include difficulty staying awake, and that's trouble remaining awake and alert during typical wake hours. And I experienced this when I Might be using the computer midday, and I keep nodding off briefly, doing the head bob, and I can't concentrate on what I'm doing. Long sleep duration, sleeping longer than average, where you may get 10 or more hours of sleep, but still feel sleepy and groggy during the day, according to the Cleveland Clinic in their article, Hypersomnia, Symptoms, Causes, and Treatments. Sleep inertia, it's where you have difficulty waking up in the morning, or if you take a nap and you wake up and you experience that sleep drunkenness, they call it, where you feel groggy and confused when you first wake up. Focus and memory, difficulty concentrating and retaining new information and making decisions. This is one I struggle with. If someone asks me to read something in the afternoon, I have a lot of trouble because by that time I'm pretty exhausted. So I might read the same paragraph 4 times and still forget what I read. So I have trouble focusing. Irritability, getting irritated easily, or you're very moody. And then slow reaction times. That's your reduced ability to react quickly, which can be dangerous if you're driving a car or you're operating machinery that has a lot of moving parts, or even if you're just in the kitchen using sharp utensils like knives and your reaction time's slow, you may cut your finger. All right, so why do we get excessive daytime sleepiness? Let's look at some of the common causes. First one is sleep disorders like sleep apnea, narcolepsy, and restless leg syndrome can cause excessive daytime sleepiness. Another one is circadian rhythm disorders. Now, you've probably heard of your circadian rhythm. It's the sleep-wake cycle that your body controls. So disruption in your body's internal clock, which can come from jet lag, or maybe some people work different shifts. If that's messed up, then that can have an effect on your sleep as well and cause excessive daytime sleepiness. Medical conditions, neurological disorders like Parkinson's, depression, or other health issues can lead to excessive daytime sleepiness. And medications like antihistamines. If you've ever taken antihistamines like Benadryl, you notice they make you tired. So sleeping pills and antidepressants are other medications that can lead to excessive daytime sleepiness. Lifestyle factors, poor sleep hygiene, or irregular sleep schedules, and insufficient sleep can all lead to excessive daytime sleepiness. So if you or someone you care for experiences these symptoms, it's important that you consult your healthcare professional to help identify the underlying cause and course of treatment. All right, so I just wanted to share, like I did with insomnia, a story about someone that has excessive daytime sleepiness and how it can impact their quality of life. And so to help illustrate that, I want to talk about Mark and Sarah. So they've always been an active guy, even after being diagnosed with Parkinson's in his mid-50s. He managed his symptoms well enough, but noticed that he was starting to get sleepy during the day. No matter how much sleep at night, he struggled to stay awake during the day. This excessive sleepiness, he said, hit him like a wave, and it just kept getting harder for him to shake it off. He felt like his energy levels were really dropping, and he said he was having trouble doing simple things like having a conversation because he couldn't concentrate, and he was dozing off. Now, his wife Sarah said she noticed Mark dozing in the middle of the afternoon, and his snoring was becoming more and more intense at night. So Sarah recommended he see the doctor, and then ordered him to have some sleep tests done. The results showed that Mark had sleep apnea, which is pretty common in Parkinson's, and that was making his EDS worse. The doctors wrote an order for a CPAP machine to help with the sleep apnea. Now, Mark started using the CPAP to help him breathe easier while he slept. Now, it took a few weeks, but Mark told Sarah that he noticed it made a difference in his daytime sleepiness. His daytime sleepiness lessened, and now he had more energy for his favorite activities like playing guitar and fly fishing. Now, that's a man after my own heart. Those are great hobbies. The combination of managing his Parkinson's symptoms, addressing his sleep apnea, gave him a better quality of life. He got back to doing the things he enjoyed, and him and Sarah were able to do things together then. So hopefully this story will get you to take action if you're experiencing EDS. All right, now let's give you some tips and strategies to help you overcome excessive daytime sleepiness. Now, the first thing is you want to optimize medication regimen. In the article, How to Fight Parkinson's Disease-Related Fatigue by the Johns Hopkins Medicine.org, They recommend working with your healthcare provider to review and adjust your medications. They note that some Parkinson's meds can contribute to sleepiness. They also note that in some cases, doctors may prescribe stimulant medications to help you manage your excessive daytime sleepiness. Again, you want to establish a consistent sleep schedule like we discussed earlier. Daytime napping, again, try to keep it short and avoid napping later in the afternoon. And this one's probably going to hurt. Regular exercise or physical activity can help improve your energy levels and reduce excessive daytime sleepiness. Next up is diet and hydration. Eat a balanced diet rich in fruits and veggies, lean proteins, and whole grains, and avoid heavy meals close to bedtime. In hydration, stay well hydrated throughout the day, but you want to try to reduce your fluid intake the closer you get to bed so that you're not up all night using the restroom. Stimulation. Engage in activities. So you participate in mentally stimulating activities like puzzles, reading, or playing board games to keep your attention and so that you stay alert. Social interaction. You spend time with friends and family. They're going to help you stay engaged and mentally stimulated, and that'll help with excessive daytime sleepiness. And then manage sleep disorders like sleep apnea and restless leg syndrome, because they can help you manage your EDS. Be sure to work closely with your healthcare provider. Develop a specific treatment plan for your needs. Okay, next up in our sleep stealer board is the restless leg syndrome. Yes, I've experienced this on occasion. So what exactly is restless leg syndrome, and what are some of its symptoms? Restless leg syndrome is, again, a neurological disorder that causes an irresistible urge to move your legs, and it's often accompanied by uncomfortable sensations, which can include feelings of itching, pulling, crawling, or throbbing. Symptoms include an uncontrollable urge to move. This is the primary symptom of RLS, or restless leg syndrome, according to the article Restless Leg Syndrome, Symptoms and Causes by the Mayo Clinic. You may feel the strong need to move the legs often at night while you're trying to sleep, which again is going to keep you awake. Uncomfortable sensations. According to the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, they will entitled Restless Leg Syndrome. And these sensations include aching, throbbing, pulling, itching, crawling, and creeping. Sensations are less commonly affected in the arms and rarely the chest or head. With movement, moving your legs can temporarily relieve the uncontrollable or uncomfortable sensations that you get from restless leg syndrome. And then most people say that their symptoms worsen in the evening and then can cause difficulty sleeping. RLS can disrupt sleep due to the constant urge to move. So if you're experiencing any of these symptoms, it's important to talk to your doctor and healthcare professional, get the treatment that you need. And it's estimated that up to 7 to 10% of the U.S. population may have restless leg syndrome, which can begin at any age. It occurs in both males and females, but it's more common in females. Now, most people who are severely affected are middle-aged or older. RLS is a lifelong condition, and currently there is no cure. Treatment can simply help you with your symptoms. So let's look at a story from an RLS sufferer and how it has impacted their life. Karen had been living with Parkinson's for a few years when she stated experiencing restless legs at night. She said it wasn't the usual tossing and turning, but she said her legs felt like they had a mind of their own. Karen said the constant urge to move it made it impossible to fall asleep, and the lack of sleep was taking a toll on her life. Karen was always fatigued. She said simple things like focusing on conversations or enjoying her morning walk were becoming more challenging. Karen said she was becoming more irritable and disconnected from things she loved to do, like spending time with her grandkids and going to the book club and getting involved in the discussions. So Karen decided to contact her doctor, who prescribed some medication to help with the symptoms and suggested meditation and relaxation to help manage her sleep. Karen got her life back and returned to spending time with her grandkids and going to the book club and sharing her thoughts on the story. As you can see, RLS can have a significant impact on your quality of life. Okay, let's look at some tips and strategies to help you overcome RLS symptoms. The first is lifestyle changes, and you want to avoid triggers like alcohol and caffeine and nicotine, especially in the hours leading up to bedtime. So if you're having a cocktail or wine and you have restless leg syndrome, or You're drinking too many caffeinated beverages. That can one of the that's causing you problems. And then regular exercise. You want to make sure that you do that, as well as eat a healthy diet. Number 2 is leg care. Now, according to WebMD, in their article 10 Tips to Ease Restless Legs Syndrome, you want to do stretching and massage. So you want to stretch at the beginning and at the end of each day. And then regularly massage your legs to reduce tension. And then they also recommend warm and cold packs. Apply warm and cold packs to your legs, and that's to help with overcoming some of those sensations that they talked about. And medical management, you want to consult your doctor about any medications that can help manage RLS. And these may include dopaminergic agents, anticonvulsants, or opioids. Supplements, if you have low iron, that might be one of the underlying causes. So they may recommend iron supplements. Behavioral strategies like cognitive behavioral therapy and relaxation, biofeedback. And feedback is essentially, it's a technique that trains you to control your physiological functions, which can reduce RLS symptoms. So it helps you focus on like slowing your breathing down, slowing your heart rate down. Those type of things would be biofeedback. Now, implementing these strategies can help you manage your RLS and improve your quality of life. So make sure you see your healthcare professional if you feel like you're experiencing restless leg syndrome, so they can help you manage your symptoms. All right, let's look at our final sleep disruption and the top 5 issues, and that's sleep apnea. And I personally have sleep apnea, and am quite familiar with it. What is sleep apnea? Well, sleep apnea is a disorder that leads to pauses in your breathing during sleep, and these pauses can last anywhere from a few seconds up to a minute. And there are 2 main types of sleep apnea: obstructive sleep apnea, SA, which is caused by a blockage of the airways, and central sleep apnea, CSA, which occurs when the brain fails to send proper signals to the muscles to control breathing. Now, I have the first one, the obstructive sleep apnea. Now, symptoms of sleep apnea and Parkinson's include loud snoring. Frequent loud snoring is common, especially if you're not using a CPAP machine. Gasping or choking, waking up gasping for air or choking during the night is another very common symptom. Restless sleep, frequent awakenings, and resting and turning, and then you wake up and you feel like you didn't sleep well. Daytime sleepiness, excessive daytime sleepiness and fatigue because you didn't sleep well and you tossed and turned the night before and had fragmented sleep. Morning headaches, waking up with a headache is another common sign, as well as dry mouth and sore throat. Changes like increased irritability and you're not happy, quite common. Sleep apnea is quite prevalent among individuals with Parkinson's. In fact, studies suggest that up to 40% of people with Parkinson's experience sleep apnea. Now, this can be significant because untreated sleep apnea can make Parkinson's symptoms worse, such as cognitive function and mood disorders. So if you suspect you have sleep apnea, contact your doctor and they can recommend a sleep study, and that's going to help diagnose the condition. And then treatments are going to include PAP therapy, which is positive airway pressure, which includes both the CPAP, or continuous positive airway pressure, or BiPAP, which is bilateral airway pressure, which help to keep your airway open during sleep. And lifestyle changes, weight management, and avoiding alcohol and sedatives, and sleeping your side can help you with your symptoms. Appliances. There are devices that keep your airway open by positioning your jaw and your tongue, and that helps open your airways. So that's sleep apnea. And again, weight management, avoiding alcohol and sedatives, and sleeping on your side are also ways to help with sleep apnea. All right, so the moral of the story here is to consult your healthcare professional if you believe you have sleep apnea. And there you have it. We've explored the top 5 sleep issues commonly faced by individuals with Parkinson's. We've discussed effective strategies to manage them. Now, remember, improving sleep quality is essential for your overall well-being and can significantly enhance your quality of life. By implementing these strategies, you can take control of your sleep, reduce your daytime fatigue, and improve issues with sleep. So don't hesitate to seek help from a healthcare professional or a sleep specialist. I did, I did it, and you can too. Now remember, you're not alone on this journey. Many others with Parkinson's have successfully addressed sleep challenges and found relief. With the right strategies and support, you can conquer sleep issues and experience a more restful and fulfilling life. Now, I'd love to hear your stories of how you've overcome sleep issues and challenges. Now, before we close out, I'd please request that you visit liveparkinsons.com and sign up for the free monthly newsletter. It's packed full of information that you can use on help you in your daily life. And then also visit my Ko-fi page, which is if you feel like the information that I'm providing is of a benefit and you want a cup of coffee to help support the podcast, it would be greatly appreciated. But I thank you for listening, and I really appreciate everyone out there. I look forward to seeing you on future podcasts. Have a spectacular day. And again, thanks for listening.